Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to how to break free from the trap of seeking external validation. Now this should be a very good video, and this is very much what a lot of people do seek, especially influencers, generally speaking influencers. She's obviously not all influencers of course, but generally speaking influencers. I obviously don't seek validation. Please hit that like button. Not joking. But no, I mean, obviously they want validation, and you can look at it in different ways. And some ways people see validation as their existence, meaning that if they don't see themselves as very accepting of the public, they don't see any worth in themselves. And the other validation, I guess the way I see it, is validation in terms of your work, that it is in fact that what people want. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it if people don't want to watch it? It's like, oh, I did a subject on this, and a lot of people watch it, so I guess that shows validation that people want that kind of work. That's the way I see validation. There's a couple of ways to see it for sure, but some people see it as, as their self-worth or as their meaning for life. They want the attention, that validation. So there are ways to see it, and obviously this is meant more of the negative kind of sense, where this validation will in fact harm you. You see, like self-worth validation, and not necessarily the ones where it's like, oh, okay, not a lot of people watch that, so that's not exactly what people want. That's again another validation of what people do not want. Whereas there's a validation of what people do want. You're looking at validation as like subject matters that you want to present to people and see whether they like it, but not a validation. Let's go and get started. I talked too much already.
Pranam Acharya ji.
जी
Uh, Acharya ji, my question is how to break free from seeking external validation. I keep repeating the same mistake again and again. Where am I going wrong?
This is where I would ask her the question, do you learn from your mistakes? First and foremost. And if she says yes, then I was like, okay, cool. What did you learn from you? You said you keep doing this over and over again, so what did you learn from it? Because I don't know what you did, but obviously you shouldn't repeat the same mistake. You should learn from your mistake at least on the second time. Realize, I guess you also should be more conscious of what you do. That way you can, because if you don't know what mistakes you made, then you were not conscious of your actions. You were just kind of going with it and hoping that it would work, and you're like, well, I don't know what I did. If you don't know what you did, you don't know what you did wrong.
you see we are made in a way that we'll always have a relationship with the external.
Mm-hmm.
When we say internal, we mean things that we consider as part of the self, all that we call as internal. So the body, mind, thoughts, feelings, these we usually call as internal. And then these objects of senses, the entire big world, these we call as external. We'll always have a relationship with the external. But the relationship can be of two very different kinds. One, when you know yourself and are sure of yourself within. That is one center to operate from. And second is when you do not know of yourself. You have never bothered to be authentic in your thoughts, beliefs, actions, way of life. Then that is another center one operates from. See, when one operates from a center of inner ignorance, then it becomes very necessary to depend on the outer. And that is one kind of relationship. You can be greatly related to the other. very strongly related, very inexorably related to the other. And yet you could be related from the wrong center. You could say you could be related because of the wrong reasons. The relationship can be very strong. The strength of the relationship may not necessarily be an auspicious thing. You can have very, very strong relationship with the external, and yet it could be from a very wrong center. And what do we mean by wrong? The center of inner ignorance. So I'm not sure of myself. So obviously I have to relate very strongly with you. To keep asking for direction, to keep asking for validation and assurance, to keep asking for support. Like a man very firmly grips his crutches. When you are not sure of the steadiness of your gait, the firmness of your walk, then have you seen how you very strongly clutch to something which you won't usually do? It is your weakness that becomes the strength of the relationship. Inner weakness starts showing up as the strength in the relationship. That's a very deceptive thing. All that you will see is a strong relationship. But what it is symptomatic of is a weak interior. What is visible is a strong relationship. And what it signifies is a weak interior. That's usually the case. %99 of what we call as strong relationships belong to this category. The relationship is strong because the person is weak or the persons are weak. Hence the relationship is very strong. The association with the other is mighty, forceful, because realization of the self is very weak. This should be cause for alarm. But that's not how human beings are. We look at the surface of things and draw our conclusions from there. So two persons walking hand in hand, gripping each other very firmly, that to us is necessarily a good thing. A consequence of this sometimes is a period in which the delusion of such a relationship is broken. It would be from time to time, because such a thing cannot be sustainable. So for a while you will find a person looking indifferent towards the world. We start thinking that this is a new kind of relationship with the external. The first kind of relationship was when you were strongly related to the other, sought his approval, his guidance, his support, everything. The other kind of relationship, we think so, is when you don't care about the other and you say, nothing doing with the world and I'm on my own. But both these relationships are from the same center, the center of ignorance. And one is a consequence of the other. One oscillates between these two. You come too close to an object, obviously there would be disillusionment. And then you'd swing away like a pendulum. And for a period it would appear that you are in a state of dispassion. Vairagya. I'm done with the world. No, you are still operating from the same center. So these two relationships are mirror images of each other. Let us not be fooled. But we said relationship is possible from another center as well. What is that other center? That is the center of inner assurance. 1,000 times I've looked at myself, talked to myself, observed myself. Not once, but continuously. And from there, I have seen my inner patterns. I have seen my fears. I've encountered my inner demons. And when I watch these things within myself, I'm able to see the exact same things within others as well. But others probably are not watching it for themselves. I've decided that this is important, the watching, and I'll do it. I'm watching it. The more I watch the center of all my weaknesses, the more I gain freedom from these weaknesses. More I gain freedom from these. The more I gain freedom from my inner weaknesses, the more I get freedom from the need to depend on others. A certain non-weakness arises. I'm deliberately not calling it strength. It is closer to sahajta, just a free flow of consciousness. Strength is just too aggressive and too outwardly directed. So we can probably avoid it for now, or maybe we need not avoid it. Getting it? There is a freedom from fear and a freedom from the care of consequences. So now I need not depend on others. Now I need not have a relationship with others. Need not have. But just as I could see my own inner situation, I can also see that similar situation prevails in others. And from this, a totally different kind of relationship is born. Again, I hold hands, not with the purpose of gaining strength, but with the purpose of offering strength. From out there, the situation from both the centers might look similar. Two persons stand holding hands, but the inner reality is dimensionally different. In one case, you were holding hands because you were just so weak you could not be independent. In the other situation, you are so strong that you can afford to be independent, but real strength, sahajta, non-weakness, that real flow of consciousness, real strength, brings compassion in its wake. And that's what makes you hold hands. Holding hands in itself does not prove anything. Anything. Espousing a noble cause in life, that too in itself proves nothing. There are just so many people who turn towards charitable activities just so that they avoid looking at the inner vacuum. The fellow had a breakup. Next day, he was leading a campaign, say no to plastics. That won't do, sir. That won't do.
Well, I'll say this though. I mean, obviously, it depends on if that action continues. Like, someone has to start somewhere, right? We all make mistakes, and maybe we do want to change the world, and we have to start somewhere. This guy could start at, stop plastics or whatever. It's not to say that, well, you're forgiven because you just started it. No, no, no. It's more along the lines, okay, it's a start. Let's see if you continue it and continue. And as a matter of fact, follow your own advice as well. It's so it's not necessarily a disagreement with him, but it's more along the lines like let's have a little asterisk right there. It's like it's a start, but it's not it's not necessarily that's not enough. It's just let's it's a start. Prove that you have changed, because like he said, like he's saying this entire time, it's the fact that people will start something just so that they say I'm clean, I'm good or whatever, and they don't look internally, see that this is just a facade, something temporarily, so that people will look away.
The day you find somebody else, you will be throwing plastics and rubber all around. No, not that way. Operating from the right center, that's what matters. Otherwise, you might hand holds with a man, an object, a woman, a cause, an animal, anything. It just does not end rightly. You could call it boring, or you could call it very interesting, how everything ultimately boils down to the point you are operating from. Are relationships good? I don't know. Are relationships bad? I don't know. Depends on where you are coming from. Depends on where you are coming from. The funny part is when you do not know your own limits and weaknesses, when you do not know how to assess your own interiors, which is probably an easier thing to do because you are always available to yourself to observe. How will you ever know who to seek help from? People ask, how do we know what lies inside that other person? Especially young people. They say, how do we know whether the other is a fraudster or a gangster or what? He's knocking at the doors of my life. How do I know what kind of character he is? Sir, how will you know the other person when you have never known yourself. And this is the easier task among the two. What is easier, knowing yourself or knowing that person there in that chair? Huh? So I do not know myself, but I feel very sure that this one is the right one for me. Funny. I feel very confident of my decision. This one is the right one for me. I'll seek help from that one. I cannot read anything, my eyes are gone. So I'm scrolling through the ads to determine the right doctor for me. The eye doctor, ophthalmologist. Because I cannot see anything, hence I am reading all the ads, and from this I'll confidently arrive at a decision. This one is the right eye doctor for me. And we managed to feel very confident, no? Finally, we had the right vibes, and relationship progressed in such a natural and effortless way. We knew we were for each other and such things, and So do you even know what effortlessness means? Intuitively, we feel made for each other. So do you even know what intuition means? But there is a certain security in feeling confident. So we give ourselves that liberty. Just say, I feel confident. Just say, you'll feel so good. The ego is so afraid of uncertainty, Loves to declare, I am now confident. So, it's a thing that takes time and dedication. You have to be with yourself continuously. That's when you start gaining some assurance about yourself. And that's what empowers you to be reasonably assured of the other. Not bothering to go inside. You feel all the more incentivized to just rush outside. And that will lead to all kinds of things in the relationship. Fear, dependence, violence, jealousy. I'm gripping something for dear life. Will I ever let go of this? Is this love? Is this love? No. And if this one wants to go and have a walk, some fresh air, first of all, I'll beg. I'll say I'll at your feet. I'm prepared to give anything that you want. But please don't leave. And if this one still insists on leaving, and why not? My life depends on this. This leaves, my life leaves. Why will I allow my life to leave? I would rather. Is there anything as violent as love? That's why.
It's really weird to say that. Is there anything more as violent as love? My mind thinks yes. Jealousy, anger. Love, you don't look at it as violent. Love turns into something nasty, which is jealousy. Love is not violent. Weird to say that. That's why I was like, what? I get what he's saying, though. I don't believe he means love as in itself as violent. Love is love. There is no bad love. Well, well, I guess there are some bad loves, but it's not violent. It's like dependency love, which is a bad love, where you're dependent on that person and you only care about that person, but you don't turn violent to that person. Um, when you love someone who doesn't love you, it's a bad love because it's not a love in return. Most bad loves are just love that are not returned, or love that doesn't, like a person doesn't treat you right or something. Generally, love itself is not bad. It's not violent, but I think he means the 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 opposite of love, which I think the right word is jealousy. Um, I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess there are some cases of love where it does turn violent. It's really weird to say that. Kind of, I guess the example he gave us is technically that, where yeah, if you know you don't want to lose your life, so you don't want that person to be in love with anyone else. There's some movies like that, but I'm wondering if that is not turned to anger, you know, um, instead, love into anger or jealousy, not necessarily love itself, because you're angry that person's leaving, so you use the anger portion. I don't know, it's just really weird to say love is violent. And love turns into jealousy, love can turn into anger. Anger that you're leaving me. Jealousy that you love someone else than me. Hmm.
Because what we call as love is nothing but an expression of the inner darkness. Inner darkness turned into a relationship. That's what we call as love. Is this somewhat answering the question?
Yes, ji, Acharya ji. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Hmm. Well, I certainly hope so. I know sometimes a lot of people are afraid to say, no, not quite. Actually, I didn't understand you. No one wants to look like a fool, especially on the internet. I wouldn't doubt I've done it many a times, but it's not that I don't care. It's that I'm just being truthful as best as I can, and if I look like a fool, then hey, at least I'm truthful about it. It's not, to me. There's no shame in being genuine, and even if you're wrong about something, but as long as you're genuine about it, then I can't bash you for that. It's only whenever you try to hide the fact that that you made a mistake or something. It's like, no, 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 I didn't do that, not at all. It's kind of where you're a fool, because then you can admit that you're wrong. Whereas if you're genuine and you're wrong, you're like, well, I tried, but obviously I don't know everything, and that's when I wouldn't consider yourself a fool. It's a fool to always think you're right, and you're a fool if you don't believe you're ever wrong. And I guess it's two of the same things, but you're not a fool if you know that you can be wrong and that you need to be corrected sometimes. But you are a fool if you keep falling for it over and over again, though. At least for the second time or third time. Anyways, breaking free from a trap to seek external validation. I mean, the one thing I'll say here too is also, of course, is to learn from your lessons. Be conscious of your decisions. That way, you know what you're doing. A lot of people sometimes they go by their emotions, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But be conscious of it. And what I mean by this is that when you start feeling something, you start doing things without thinking about it. You don't really remember why you did things because emotions clouded your judgment. So just be more conscious of the things that you do in life, just in general, really, and that way, whenever you make a mistake, you're like, yeah, I remember that. I'm not gonna sit here and say I remember all my actions. I'm conscious of my decisions, but I don't always remember it. So, but if I make a mistake, it's like, well, let me think about it. If it's something major, as life changing or something, hopefully I remember that. Or if something that's important to me, then hopefully I remember that. But That's just, I guess that's the message I would give, is to be conscious of the decisions that you make. That way, when you recollect them and you recall them, that you hopefully remember the decisions that you made. It's like, yeah, thinking about that now, I probably shouldn't have done that. Well, lesson learned. Take some accountability on your actions and stuff like that. So anyways, that's more actions on how to break free from the trap of seeking external validation. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up the stand down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.